Hello guys, I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here today to discuss Premier League game week 9 that has just taken place and some amazing games actually. No draws to talk about, which is stunning. And the only game I'm not talking about is Nottingham Forest versus Aston Villa because that is tomorrow night. And if that's not a draw, then all of the fixtures that have taken place this weekend have ended in either wins for either side, which is just amazing. There are no draws. So let's get straight onto the video. Starting off on Sunday afternoon where Arsenal beat Liverpool 3-2 at the Emirates in a very entertaining match, and 1 minute in, Arsenal immediately score, exposing Liverpool's defensive issues. Trent again kind of caught lapsing really on the right-hand side. Martinelli cuts in behind. The ball is played through the Liverpool defence. Martinelli slots it away to make it 1-0. An amazing start for Arsenal, and really, I think throughout the whole game, they were the better team against Liverpool. You look at the XG, like Arsenal created more chances, Arsenal had more shots on target. They were the better team, and that kind of begs the question now. Are Arsenal title contenders? Because people say that, oh, they haven't played anyone serious. Well, yes, Liverpool are out of form. Yes, Liverpool are 10th, but also, they're a good side. You know, they don't suddenly become a bad side overnight. They've still got world-class players. Like, Trent is still amazing going forward. Like, Nunez and Diaz and Jota and Salah are all still phenomenal attackers. And Arsenal convincingly beat Liverpool. So, you know, the signs are really good for Arsenal. And, you know, going into this season, I was worried about them because I thought the damage of just missing out on the top four would really affect Arteta and this team and this young team, but it hasn't. I think the recruitment's been amazing. Jesus has been a revolutionary signing, not just on the pitch, but his leadership qualities and probably what he demands from his teammates off the ball as well and off the pitch as well is phenomenal. And Arteta, they're playing such good football. You know, they've only lost away from home against Man United, which is some achievement from Arsenal. So the sky's the limit for them, really. So, you know, yes, Liverpool pegged Arsenal back. Arsenal took the lead and it was a draw again. You know, an amazing goal from Firmino. But I did think in the end, Arsenal got the penalty. I think that was fair enough. And in the end, like I said, Arsenal deserved to win. And I think there are some good signs there for Liverpool. You know, Nunez was pretty decent on his return. You know, good goal from him and he looked really dangerous up front. Perhaps maybe Liverpool should change formation. Perhaps maybe Nunez and Salah can play up top together. But at the moment, things aren't completely clicking for Liverpool, especially defensively. So they've got issues to worry about. And they play Man City next week. And surely, if Liverpool lose that game, then they're out the title race, given how dominant Man City are and how good Arsenal have started the season. Because already Liverpool are 14 points behind Arsenal, which is just stunning to think. So amazing credit goes to Arteta and the team. I do think Arsenal's squad is still a little bit thin. I think they need to add 1 or 2 players in January just to bulk up the squad in case Jesus gets injured, in case Saka or even Saliba get injured. But, you know, signs are really bright there for Arsenal. One team that will almost certainly finish in the top 4, and that's Man City. Another thrashing at home. This time they thrashed Saints by 4-0. Haaland, I mean, you know, he only scored 1 goal in this game, and I think people will be disappointed he didn't get a hat-trick. I mean, he hit the post. I think he hit the post twice. He had a couple of really good chances, so could have easily scored a hat-trick, but in the end, they just comfortably beat Southampton. And like I said in the preview, games like this won't define Southampton in the Premier League. It's games when they play Everton at home and they're leading 1-0 and they lose 2-1. So Southampton have just got to forget about this game and focus next week on the massive game where they play West Ham at home. And, you know, Saints are going to have to really pick up something in that game if they're going to feel confident that they can go forward with Ralph and stay up. But for Man City, they just keep marching on and dominating the Premier League. Well, almost dominating the Premier League because they are second to Arsenal. Then we have Chelsea 3, Wolves 0, a very convincing win for Graham Potter and his men, despite having Edouard Mendy, Sterling and Aubameyang on the bench. Just phenomenal. Chelsea squad is brilliant. You know, they got now Brozier coming on and scoring, so that's good signs for Chelsea. I mean, Graham Potter's done really, really well with this team that he's got, and they played some fantastic football at the weekend, so they fully deserve to beat Wolves. As for Wolves, it wasn't quite their romantic fairy tale return for Diego Costa, but they're going to have to appoint a manager soon, and I'm not sure who they are going to appoint. You know, perhaps Rafa Benitez. I mean, he's out of work, but Wolves just didn't look convincing, and I think it was always very unlikely they were going to win this game, and like I said, they need to appoint a new manager soon. So Tottenham managed to get past Brighton 1-0 away from home. Harry Kane getting the only goal. And, on paper, actually, this is a really difficult game. Brighton away from home. Brighton have had a fantastic start this season. Obviously losing Graham Potter, who's gone to Chelsea. And Brighton just play very good football. Their recruitment, similar to Brentford, is excellent, which is why I think Brighton will have a good season. And I predicted they'd finish quite high up. So they were always going to be a difficult test for Spurs. But Spurs managed to get through that. They played some good football themselves, and this was just about getting the win and getting out of there and focusing on the next game for Spurs. So around this time, it was a year ago that Newcastle were taken over by new owners from Saudi Arabia, and to mark that occasion, they thrashed Brentford by 5-1. Now, look, I'll get on to Brentford in a second. Their defending was absolutely horrific, but Newcastle were clinical. They were fantastic going forward. Bruno in midfield. I mean, BBC Sport did an article and a headline saying £38 million bargain, and it does look like that is to be the case. He looks like a bargain at £38 million. Such a silky footballer, can play either as a 6 or number 8 or even number 10. He just looks like a fantastic footballer, and this is without Isak. And Newcastle scored 5 goals at home. They look fantastic. Trippier looks like he's excelling at that right back spot and captain for Newcastle. I think things are looking great for them. For Brentford, after the highs of beating Man United 4-0 at home, this is basically a massive reality check for them, and their defending was absolutely horrific. And yes, Ethan Pinnock was poor defensively, but I think normally since he's started playing in the Premier League, he's been a really consistent defender for Brentford, and I'm sure he'll get back to the form that he showed last season. But Brentford just looked totally at 6s and 8. They just looked totally lost at Newcastle. And, Ivan Toney consolation goal was the only thing to really cheer about. But I think Brentford will be absolutely fine this season. They just came up against a very confident Newcastle team, riding a crest of a wave and, who are very, very good going forward, despite having Isak injured. Bournemouth continue to surprise the Premier League after they beat Leicester by 2-1. And I'll get onto Leicester in a second, because similar to Brentford, it was shocking defending. But Bournemouth, I believe they're unbeaten in 5 now. That's a comeback win against Forest and Leicester now. Despite a team that is majority championship players, let's be honest, and despite a temporary manager in Gary O'Neill. Is he now going to get the full-time job at Bournemouth? Who knows? They look really strong, and I always thought, yes, they've got a team that's a majority championship players, but I always thought Solanke and Billing would step up to the Premier League. They seem to be performing well for Bournemouth, and their new signing, I think Serini, the Argentinian centre-back, he looks like a revolutionary signing for Bournemouth. And fair play to Bournemouth. It would have been very easy for them to feel sorry for themselves at 1-0 down, but they came back and made it 2-1. So they're mid-table after 9 games in the Premier League. That's a great achievement for them. So all credit to them. For Leicester, on the other hand, after the high of beating their Midlands rivals, Nottingham Forest, 4-0 on Monday night, to lose 2-1 in the manner of which they did was absolutely horrific. The defending was appalling. Yet again being 1-0 up. Yet again letting their lead slip, and yet again Danny Ward was horrific in goal. And I don't like to single out individuals because I am no football expert. I am still a kid. I don't know a lot about football, and I'll never be a professional footballer and probably never a professional coach, but it doesn't take an expert to realise that Danny Ward is out of its depth at goalkeeper in the Premier League at the moment. He just looks completely lost, and it was always going to be hard to replace the charismatic figure of Kasper Schmeichel, who'd been at Leicester for over 10 years, won the Premier League and FA Cup with Leicester, won the Championship with Leicester. To fill those boots was always going to be hard, but Danny Ward is having a really bad time of it, and it's starting to get to the point where he maybe need to have some time out from the team, because even someone like Wayne Hennessy, who doesn't even play regularly for, I believe it's Nottingham Forest, is the number 1 for Wales ahead of Danny Ward, who's playing regularly for Leicester, because Danny Ward's form is so horrific. And for Brendan Rodgers, he's going to have to maybe change something, because yes, Maddison's playing extraordinarily well, Daka's putting in good performances, Harvey Barnes a bit hit and miss, but Leicester just defensively, they cannot defend. They're so bad defensively, and when you have a goalkeeper that's shaky like that, it's always going to breed a sense of nervous energy from the defence. The defenders are always going to be worried about playing it back to the goalkeeper to go long or playing out from the back. So Brendan Rodgers just needs to change something around in order for Leicester's defence to improve, that's for sure. More games to touch on. So you have West Ham 3, Fulham 1. A scare for West Ham after falling behind to an Andres Pereira goal, but in the end, West Ham relatively comfortably win. And you know, they didn't start the season well, but now they're racking up the wins. They're performing well in Europe, and I still think David Moyes is doing such a phenomenal job. You know, if West Ham win the European Conference League, I mean, why shouldn't they? They're one of the biggest teams in that competition, certainly one of the biggest budgets in that competition. And if they, you know, finish in the top 10, maybe even top 7 or 8, they've had a really great season. And, you know, they've got players like Bowen, Rice performing very well. Their new signing in Scamacca and Praqueta look very, very, very strong for West Ham. So I think things are looking good for West Ham. And for Fulham, it's kind of a reality check in a way after a couple of defeats now against Newcastle and West Ham, but they've still had a really strong start to the season. The key for them is Mitrovic. They just look like a different team without Mitrovic. He's such an important player for Fulham, so the sooner he gets back to injury, the more likely Fulham will win again. 2 more games to talk about, and that is Palace 2, Leeds 1. In the end, Palace coming from behind to beat Leeds. A good win from them at home. I think just going forward, they just look really exciting in my opinion, with players like Michael Elise, Jordan Ayew, Onson Edwards. They've got some really great attacking talents, and of course, Wilfried Zaha. I think they're going to be a team that are just very solid, comfortable. They know their identity, and I think Joachim Andersen and Mark Guehi as the 2 centre-backs are really solid partnership, and they've got, you know, a lot of potential in both of them. So I think things look solid for Palace, but for Leeds, it's kind of been a bit of a shaky start. Now, I still think Jesse Marsch is a really good suit for Leeds as manager, and I hope Leeds stick with him, but he needs to get some wins on the board. You know, a bad loss against Brentford, drawing at home against Everton, not great. Maybe in the manner of which the game unfolded, a 0-0 draw at Aston Villa was okay, but then losing now against Palace, Leeds needs to start winning soon. And I still think they've got a great squad. You know, Arison is exciting. I like Rojo and Tyler Adams. Bamford, you know, he's been injured for so long. He just needs that match fitness to build up for him. So Leeds have got a lot of work to do, but I hope they keep hold of Jesse Marsch. And then finally, Man United 2, Everton 1. And the main talking point really in this game is the fact that Cristiano Ronaldo has scored his 700th goal for his clubs. A staggering achievement. And I think it's quite fitting that Casemiro got the assist, who played alongside Ronaldo at Real Madrid for so long. What an amazing, amazing footballer Ronaldo is. So driven. You know, can still do a decent job for Man United in the Premier League, even if he comes off the bench. Just a remarkable, remarkable athlete. Phenomenal player. So I hope you enjoyed me waffling on about the Premier League. If you did, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And let me know your thoughts about the Premier League action that took place this weekend in the comments below. And let me know what you think about my videos in the comments below. I really appreciate any genuine constructive feedback. That would really help me. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much.